Blog Talk Radio.
Franchise pros, Stan the Man, Paul Segreto. Time to show you the way of franchising today. Hey, do you possess the spirit of an entrepreneur? Wanna lay your business plan down like a rug or a floor? Or maybe you have a dream of opening a chain of delis, or whatever passion lights that pilot light under your belly. Or do you want to start a business, fam, using the proven trademark from another brand? And grow together and expand like a rage of fire, from a single to a multi-unit empire. Well, pay attention to this podcast that you hear streaming in HD, so fine-tune both of your ears. And Stan and Paul lays down the law. Whether you want to be a franchisee or a franchisor, it's all about sustainable growth, the sensible franchising, proven concepts, the smart enterprising. So use your left and right side of your brain and absorb this knowledge here, franchising today. Badlands, baby. Franchising today. Sustainable growth, the sensible franchising. Franchise today. Sustainable growth, the sensible franchising. Franchising today. Franchising today. Franchising today. Yeah.
Hello, everyone in the franchise world. My name is Paul Segreto, and this is Franchise Today. Today is Wednesday, July 11th. Yep, it's 7/11, lucky day. Of course, we have Friday the 13th coming up, but we'll worry about that 2 days from now. I'm reporting live, of course, from the Woodlands, Texas, where we're combating our springtime or summertime, I guess, storms. We got our co-host Stan Friedman live from Hotlanta. Stan, how are you today?
In Hotlanta, it is, Paul. Doing great. No storms, but, the humidity and the temperature are rivaling each other, both hovering at about the 96-point mark. So it's summertime, and Hotlanta is living up to its name.
Yep, absolutely. Stan, I want to start off today with something that happened on this date, 7/11/2015. At 9:45 a.m., as I read today in my memories on Facebook, and I wrote, if you've read Stan Friedman's updated LinkedIn profile, you'll have read some very exciting news. It states, Stan Friedman is the co-host of Franchise Today, a podcast created by Paul Segreto dedicated to communicating best practices and information that will lead to sustainable growth through sensible franchising. To which I wrote, yes, I'm super excited to team up with not only a true industry leader, but a great friend as well. Stan, I always thank you for kind of rejuvenating my interest in Franchise Today, because at that point I was at the 6-year mark. We're now at 9 years. And, like a lot of things, you kind of just lose a little bit of passion, a little bit of focus. And you got me back where we need to be. And, of course, the show has blossomed since. And again, I want to thank you.
Are you telling me that it was 3 years ago today that we rolled the dice on 7/11? Come on.
Well, it was 3 years ago today that you announced it, and then I think we went on the air about 6 weeks later.
But I would have never associated 7/11 with rolling the dice on that, Paul. It's a great thing we did. I'm glad we did it. It's been 3 fast years.
Absolutely.
I can't even believe it's that long already.
Isn't it hard to believe? I mean, it is absolutely amazing. It seems like so long ago that we were last on the air, because we weren't on the air celebrating Independence Day last week. But it seems like so long ago, and yet we're looking back at 3 years, and it seems like just yesterday.
So speaking of last week and Independence Day, Paul, it's only appropriate that I share here today that our good friend Eric Badlands Booker wasn't with us either last week on Independence Day, but he was in Coney Island, and he was at Nathan's, and he did come in 20th. He placed in the top 20 in the competitive eating competitions at Nathan's Famous in Coney Island, where Joey Chestnut broke his own record for a change and knocked back 74 hot dogs in 10 minutes. Now, I just don't – that's a visual that I don't even want to get my eyes around, but that's what happened 1 week ago today, Paul. Not franchise-related, but it's Badlands Booker related, so I thought I'd bring it around.
Yeah, wow. 74 hot dogs in 10 minutes. I can't even fathom it.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad Eric sang our jingle before he ate the dogs. But, hey, Paul, in the front of the house today, I just want to bring a couple of things up before we bring Salomon on, our guest today. Want to thank Jen Campbell from Hot Dish Advertising, president and one of the co-founders of Hot Dish, for coming to Atlanta yesterday for our combined Southeast Franchise Forum and IFA FBN summer meeting. And, you know, the month of July for those meetings is always, speaking of a roll of the dice, you don't know what you're going to get in July because so many people are on vacation and traveling and busy with other things. But Jen packed the house. We had about 80-plus people in attendance for yesterday's program, and she did a great job delivering a program on digital marketing, and the audience certainly appreciates it, as did I. It was my pleasure yesterday to play Master of Ceremonies as Trey Doster, who was supposed to have filled that role, couldn't make it, and he comes down from Athens, and he had a conflict and couldn't be here. And, of course, our chairperson, Clarissa Bradstock from Any Lab Test, now was out of the country, so it came down to me, and I had a good time hosting, but literally I want to thank Jen so much for delivering a cogent message and a message of interest, because we had 80-plus people there to hear her. Also wanted to throw a shout-out, as I learned yesterday, from Charles Watson from over at Tropical Smoothie. CEO Mike Rotundo has left Tropical Smoothie and has become the CEO of Edible Arrangements. Charles Watson, who's been running development for Tropical Smoothie for years, fills the seat as interim CEO for the time being and may actually wind up winning that position. All the best to Charles and all the best to Tropical Smoothie, our good friends here in Atlanta. Also wanted to give kudos to another great friend of ours, Paul, and that's Gordon Logan, CEO of Sport Clips, who's adorning the cover of Franchise World this month. And also, a great article appeared in the Austin Business Journal, which featured Gordon and son Edward Logan, who's the president of Sport Clips, and it's a great article on succession planning and how it's a good idea to take your time when you're thinking about transitions and not rushing just bringing someone up because he's your son. So they talk in that article about how after college, Edward went on to Deloitte and had a couple outside the family jobs before assuming the title of president at Sport Clips and being further groomed to fill the CEO seat someday when Gordon decides to hang up the hat, which I hope is no time soon. But I mean, Edward will certainly be the heir apparent. But we love seeing Gordon around the world as we travel for franchising throughout the year. So I'm in no hurry to see Gordon ride off into the sunset. But great article. Great seeing his picture on the cover of Franchising World and, of course, as well in the Austin Business Journal this week. And that's all I had in the front of the house, Paul, because I'm kind of trying to wind down a little bit for the dog days of summer. How about you?
Yeah, I'm going to take a little break here in a couple of weeks, just 3 or 4 days. Just got to unplug. It's been way too long. With respect to Gordon, I think we could, wish Gordon all the best and kudos to him. Probably every show, the man does just tremendous things and continues to do some tremendous things. And I'm glad you said heir apparent as opposed to hair apparent, which would have been no pun intended. Anyway, and also with respect to yesterday's event in Atlanta, I'm glad to see that there were at least 80 people in franchising working yesterday, because I got to tell you, last week, I don't know if there was 80 people in franchising working. It was like a morgue out there, and but such as being with a holiday right midweek. I read an interesting article at the end of last week that 73% of non-consumer facing employees, workers, meaning corporate staffs and what have you, 73% did not work Thursday and or Friday of last week. Just phenomenal. And the week before, that Friday before, TSA announced it was the single busiest air travel day ever.
I got to tell you, I had I think the busiest Thursday and Friday last week, and literally I found people available for conversations and working. So I know that there were a great many more at the airports and on the road, and making a stretch out of a midweek holiday. But I was one of those that was sitting at the desk here, and happy I was, because I got a lot done.
Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, you talk to a lot of people that are high up the ladder. They're probably going to be more prone to work. Anyway, that being said, today we have an exciting show. We titled it "What's Clean and Green" with X's and O's, and X's and O's meaning, love and kisses. As I read a lot about this organization, and our guest is Salomon Mishaan, and he was quoted as saying, "We didn't go green because Al Gore started talking about it. We started before he was even talking about it. We didn't hop on the bandwagon. We are the bandwagon." Salomon, welcome to Franchise Today.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. And yes, as a matter of fact, we are very concerned about our environment. And that's one of the big reasons that, as we'll talk throughout today, OXXO, which is Hugs and Kisses, came to be.
Well, that sounds good. So before we get there, as we always ask our guests, we don't wake up one day and say, you know what, I think we're going to get involved in franchising. Franchising usually finds us one way, shape, fashion, or form. So take us back as far as you would like and bring us up to date. How did franchising pop on the scene? But more importantly for this, take us back and lead us up to that step into franchising.
Well, actually, I am originally from Colombia, South America. I studied here in the U.S. I did high school and I went to college in the U.S. And then I went to live in Venezuela rather than Colombia. I come from an industrial family. In Colombia, my family is in the my father was in the textile industry, all the way from spinning yarn to making the materials to weaving the materials, and then manufacturing the garments, and even going all the way to selling the garments in Colombia and in Venezuela. My father was a workaholic. He taught me to be one as well. Since I was 8 years old, I would go to the textile plant and tie knots in the yarn when they were being turned into the spinning material to be put into the dyes to get a different color. So since I was a little kid, I started working. Once I graduated, I had the opportunity to move to Venezuela, and I worked in a development, construction development, which afterwards I started working with my father in his plant in Venezuela in the textiles. So I have a very good background in textiles. Lived there for a few years. Then I worked in a plastics company. We manufactured plastics for saran wrap type. It was called Envoplast, or it is called Envoplast down there. We made materials for the automotive industry. We make materials for the pharmaceutical industry, which is the plastic, which is rigid, where they put the blister packaging for the pills. And we make Formica for the construction industry. One thing and basically the reason I'm telling you this is my background is that back then in the 80s when I was working in Venezuela, we were the first company in the laminate business, which is the Formica business, where we had an incinerator to incinerate the chemicals that we were not using, rather than throw it into the garbage or into the rivers or whatever. So I've had a conscientious hippie type thing from my 60s days to be green. and to care about the environment. That was a very big investment we did, which was not necessary, which was not obligated by law or anything like that. But I did convince my board to make the investment, and I think we did the right thing because we had a lot of chemicals to get rid of, and what we did was incinerate them, and so we weren't causing any contamination to the rivers in down there in Venezuela. Additionally to that, we in the 80s also we had since we were suppliers to the automotive industry and to the pharmaceutical industry. I don't know if you remember that there was that Kaizen, the Japanese ISO 9000, which was a method for quality control and efficiency that was required for all suppliers to the automotive industry,
right,
and to the pharmaceutical. So I, as president of these companies, converted 3 plants into this system, into this method. Again, the reason I mention this is because all this goes into my franchising days of today. Back in the year 2000, I brought my family to the U.S. Venezuela became a little bit dangerous. I don't know if you know the situation in Venezuela, but we have that dictatorship.
Yes,
but it started with Chavez back then, and unfortunately, coming from Colombia, where I had lived with the guerrillas back there, and I moved to Venezuela, I said I'm not going to have my family live in this situation, which, as a matter of fact, the country has deteriorated tremendously. So when I got to the States, I was looking around, and something that when you're too busy working in South America, you really don't do is take things to the cleaners. Here in the U.S., I really had some free time, so what I did was I would be the guy that would go to the market. I became the stay-home pop and mom. So when I got to the cleaners, I got to the cleaners here, and I saw how in the past, or how retrograde the cleaners are in the U.S. They still work with the big steam presses that work off of an industrial steam boiler. I know those presses because we use those presses in our garment sector of our company, where we wanted pleats in shirts and that those pleats stay there forever, or pleats in the pants so that when you buy them, they have those pleats. And that's equipment that was being used here. The steam pipes all over the place, the sweatshop. I don't know if you've ever been into a traditional dry cleaner. That's basically what you see. And then
right,
you had
absolutely.
You have that stench of that perchloroethylene, which is really cancerous, contaminating, and that's why you have those stores with no air conditioning, and you have those stores with the big open doors, so that the air ventilates. And the people that work in those stores are really looking for health hazards, because it is a health hazard. Back then, in Venezuela, in Europe, they were already working with hand ironing, industrial, of course, so it could be efficient, and there was certain things that I thought this industry can be modernized, and there is a great potential in this industry, which fortunately I saw, and I said I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity. And so that's when I got my team of people that I worked with in Venezuela with the industrial parts. Some were also coming to the U.S. for the same reason that I did. We got together and we saw the opportunity to come up with the concept of the new dry cleaning, which is what we call the OXXO, the care cleaning. And the reason that we called it care cleaning rather than dry cleaning is because we wanted to build an industry where caring for many things was going to be the main reason for the industry. And when I say we were caring about the environment, which was our first concern. We would be caring about the people that worked in the plants, in the dry cleaning plants. Again, so they wouldn't have to be in the sweatshops, so they wouldn't have to be breathing that perchloroethylene. Since we were looking for green in those days, we were the first ones to find a company called Green Earth. They were also just getting started. Green Earth is a silicone-based product. In other words, it's liquid sand. And in those days, there was some other alternatives that they called themselves green, but they were still organic. When I say organic, it means it still comes from petroleum or it comes from some chemical. This is liquid sand. And so I went with Green Earth. I talked to the Green Earth people, and actually all the OXXO cleaners are Green Earth. So anybody that takes things to the cleaners at OXXO, they know that they're not going to have, they're working with non-toxic solvents, and the people that work with us are in an air-conditioned space, because not only did we go green with the products that we use, we also went green with the equipment that we use. We don't work off a big industrial steam boiler, and we don't have all these steam pipes and diesel fuels coming in to feed the boiler like these traditional plants still do, or all the other. Right? I think OXXO is the only one that works only with independent equipment. It's also energy saving, because with the steam boiler, if you want to turn on any one machine in the traditional dry cleaner, you need to turn on the steam boiler, feed all the pipes, and get the steam to where it's going, but it has to go everywhere because you can't just direct it to one. So with us, each equipment is
kind of priming the pump.
Yeah, right, exactly. With us, each equipment is independent. So you want to turn on an ironing table, you just turn that machine on, and that's it. The advantage is there.
It's interesting. Yeah, so it's interesting. I mean, I can tell, just from this story, the true entrepreneurship in your blood to disrupt basically an industry segment that, as I read in an interview that you had on ideamensch.com about how the dry cleaning industry in the U.S. was 20-something years behind the times, 50 years behind the times. Another interesting quote that came out of that article was, as simple as it sounds, work is something extremely habitual for me. I come to work every day. I like my job. Work is not a chore for me. It's an integral part of my life. So I imagine that time when you were, as you said, the house dad, so to speak, that probably had to be a little bit trying for you, as it is for many entrepreneurs. But before we go on, and I know Stan has some questions as we talk about, the business model and the advantage from a consumer standpoint, I was remiss in not sharing with our audience, your title and the name of your company. And so I just like everybody to know that Salomon Mishaan is the president and founder of OXXO Care Cleaners. That's OXXO Care Cleaners, which of course was our play on Love and Kisses, as we know our X's and O's. Stan?
Yo, Paul, thank you. And Salomon, I'm really excited to have you on, because you're not just an entrepreneur who has taken and scaled the business to the degree that you've gotten, but I understand that, we're dealing here with a $9 billion industry that has many different players that have carved out many different niches in dry cleaning, but I don't think I've ever been confronted with as much as I've seen and read about OXXO when it comes to innovation, and not just the green side of innovation, but 24/7 access to your clothes. Talk a little bit about the technology side and how consumers find in OXXO something that is unparalleled any place they've ever brought their clothes before.
Well, yes. Again, when I looked into getting into the dry cleaning business, I said to myself, yes, going green is great, but that's going to happen very soon with a lot of people because that's not very let's call it. I'm trying to find the right word.
Innovative.
No, innovative or the trade secret or anything like that, because there was a lot of people coming out. Green Earth was actually going to be a product that was going to be sold all over the place. As a matter of fact, when people in Florida started seeing my company with OXXO with the Green Earth, they started selling Green Earth in Florida, which was part of their business, and they do it, and it's great because I want the earth to be clean, so I'd rather have everybody be with Green Earth than the other products that are used. But so I said, additionally to that, I have to give my consumer something better. So I'm giving them the quality with the hand ironing, which is the pleats are not permanent. We don't burn the clothes. We don't burn the buttons with these big presses. Our shirts, instead of being done on these mannequins where these two big metal plates come up, we blow dry them with steam, air and steam. So they again, you don't burn the material. Material lasts a lot longer. So we're giving quality. That was another important thing that we did. But then I said, the U.S. people love things 24 hours a day. And it reminded me of, I was watching Sex and the City when one of the girls says, in New York you can get anything 24 hours a day except dry cleaning. Well, she'd never been to OXXO. That's when we looked into finding exactly an ATM-type door. It's connected to our main conveyor, and people can pick up their clothes 24 hours a day. They get, in those days, I'm talking almost 20 years now, we gave them like a debit card, and they would just come in with the debit card. All their information was on it, put it into the machine, and the machine would pull out their clothes, and they could go home with them any time of day. And that was fantastic because it's great for the customer, because the customer has the advantage of going to dinner, going to the movie, and not having to run to the dry cleaners because it closes, because normally the dry cleaners work from 7 to 7, or 7 to 6. So if you're not there, you can't. So normally, what most people do is that they go 7 days a week, once every 7 days a week, or they go every 15 days. So what happens is that they have to have a lot more clothes than they really need, because the clothes are sitting in the dry cleaners because they don't have time to go pick it up. So that's a great advantage for the customers. And we have a lot of customers that are very happy because they say, I can wear this suit today, and then I can wear it again at the end of the week, because after 3 days I can go pick it up, and after I went to dinner, went to the movie, they just pick up their clothes. So that was great. But it's not only great for the customer, it's also great for the franchisee, because since people pick up the clothes so often, the turnover is 3 days. So the size of the conveyors, if you go into these traditional dry cleaners, you see these huge conveyors, and they're full of clothes, and it takes up half of the store, and they're paying rent for half of the store. And at the end of the day, they're not getting paid for storing the clothes for all that time. So it's time and it's money for the franchisee or for the owner of the business. So if they have the 24-hour door, the clothes come out, leave sooner. So it's less rent, less space. And we automated things also to where when the person drops off their clothes, it gets barcoded, and we can follow the clothes all throughout the process. But when it comes off the ironing, let's say the finishing, either the ironing or it comes off the shirt mannequin, and it goes, we put it through what we call an assembly conveyor, which actually automatically assembles the clothes. If Paul came in with 4 pieces, when your 4 pieces are ready, it automatically separates them. So what does that do? It requires less space, because you don't have people with a lot of racking the clothes. It avoids mistakes, human error of somebody putting somebody else's clothes, and also there's less handling of the clothing. So the shirts or the pants won't fall off the hanger, and you have to hang it back up. So once this assembly conveyor separates the clothes, it gets bagged, and it goes automatically to the main conveyor. And so it's less handling, less mistakes, less space, less people. So there's a big savings there, because in the dry cleaning industry, your main expenses are rent. So you have less rent because you have less space to be used, less labor, because you don't have the 2 or 3 persons that need to be sorting clothes, and less mistakes. So that part of technology, along with the 24-hour door, is something that has been fantastic for the bottom line to our franchisees.
Innovation extraordinaire. You're listening to Franchise Today, now in its 9th season of podcasting. I'm Stan Friedman, along with my co-host Paul Segreto, and we're talking today with Salomon Mishaan, CEO and founder of OXXO Care Cleaners. Franchise Today is brought to you by the Franchise Foundry, where Paul and his team have been bringing emerging brands to market for more than 30 years. The Foundry fosters healthy, sustainable growth for their clients, the kind that comes from experience. The Franchise Foundry provides both coaching and consulting, a hybrid approach that delivers more effective solutions for both the franchisor's corporate team as well as for their franchisees. The Foundry team is rich in practical, hands-on experience and expertise with general business management, operational and change management, digital marketing, and, of course, franchise recruitment and development. Plus, the Foundry team can assist you with creating roadmaps for potential mergers and acquisitions and provide you with the guidance needed to navigate them. You can learn more about Paul Segreto and the Franchise Foundry, along with their expanding list of clients, at www.franchisefoundry.com.
Franchise Today is also sponsored by FRM Solutions. FRM offers best-in-class CRM and document management software designed specifically for franchising. FRM empowers real-time business intelligence, communication, and collaboration between all members of the franchisor team and prospective as well as existing franchisees. This enables you to simply and seamlessly track, access, and manage all messages to and from prospective and existing franchisees, including text. Legal and compliance is simplified as well, with FRM's document management, and even site visits can be digitally facilitated and scored with FRM. Make today the day you give Stan Friedman and his FRM team a look and assure that all of your candidate and franchisee correspondence, including text messages, are being permanently tracked and stored in candidate and franchisee records. FRM even provides state-of-the-art digital experiences for your prospective franchisees, replacing old-style virtual brochures. No long-term contracts, multiple upgrades each year at no additional cost. No excuses, just solutions. On the web at frmsolutions.com.
So, Salomon, we've learned a good bit about your commitment to green. We've learned a lot about your commitment to innovation. When I met you out at the Franchise Times conference earlier this spring, you were just introducing a new and exciting level of opportunity for multi-unit focused franchisees. Tell us a little bit about your plans for growth and development and how the franchise model is evolving over time.
Well, we started the company with a plant that I did, a pilot plant to see if all my crazy ideas were not that crazy, and it proved out that they weren't, and that they're very good. We started franchising in 2001. We started building our own plants, small plants, and fortunately, we weren't able to even finish building them when somebody was already wanting to buy one, and that's how our growth started in South Florida. It developed into where most of the franchisees with time had a capacity do something else. So we came up with the concept of the drop store, which actually what it is a very small location where we put in the 24-hour door with the conveyor and maybe a tailor at most, and it's just like opening up another sales point for a plant. So what we did was do that, and most of our franchisees have become multi-units. So we said, well, if it evolved into this because they see that with one plant they can produce and they can have open up another market a little bit farther away. We saw that was an advantage. So we decided let's now we're ready to go into the multi-unit. So we've been visiting the multi-unit shows and seeing how to get multi-unit franchisees, which is something where people that have other businesses, especially in the service businesses, let's say they have restaurants in an area, and they already have enough restaurants or hotels or any service type business, and that they can add to their company another service because the administration part, let's say, can handle the administration, and then they can open plants. We have now certain multi-unit franchisees that have opened a bit bigger plant than what we normally did, where they can feed 5 drop stores. So what they're doing is opening 5 drop stores within, let's say, 2 years after they open the main plant. And actually, it's a very, very profitable situation for them. So that's why we got into the multi-unit. And out of this, something also developed, which was, and we've done it twice already, is where certain old-time plants, we did with one, has converted into an OXXO. That one was a bit more difficult because we need to have an OXXO nearby because we need to keep feeding so they don't lose their customer base. But we really need to gut that plant completely and just make a brand new plant. But there's a lot of old dry cleaners. Of course, they have to be within our demographics so that it's feasible. But there's a lot of old dry cleaners that either the landlords are making them change to green, so they have to change their equipment. Their conveyors are old. Their equipment is old, so they are looking into converting. But the other thing that's also happened to us is that there's a lot of independent drop stores who work off these old-time plants with perchloroethylene or whatever, and they're looking to sell green. And we've already converted one store like that, and we're working with other people to convert their old dry cleaners. And what all they need to do is have an OXXO plant nearby that'll do the work for them at a percentage of the sales price, and so it helps the bottom line of the plant, and the converted drop store has a good price and has enough to make money himself. So it's a win-win for the conversion and for the existing plant. So that's our what we're working on right now for our growth.
It sounds like you have a lot of exciting things. Before I go on to my next question, I was going back to listening to you as the clothes come off the conveyor and they're packaged together, all within plastic, and then of course ready for the customer to pick up. Is there planned to be a way of notifying the customer at that particular point that their clothes are ready?
Oh, absolutely. By the way, when you mention plastic, we use biodegradable plastic. That's important to mention.
Great. Well, I'll tell you, there's been plenty of times where I've been sitting here saying, they said my clothes will be ready after 5 o'clock. I wonder if they're ready now. And then there's been times I've gone to the cleaners and they're ready now at 1 o'clock and said, God, how many times would I wish I got a notice that they were ready. So I imagine that was the case. I appreciate the answer. So certainly, from a consumer standpoint, there's a lot of convenience in there. From your perspective,
well, let me answer your question, because yes, we do have today we have an app, the OXXO app, which actually does send you a message when your clothes are ready. It sends you a message telling you they're ready to pick up. Inclusively, if you're driving and you don't have the time to even get out of your car because of anything, the app, you can tell the app, I'm arriving in such time, and we'll have somebody come out and hand you your clothes at your car. So yeah, we do have that app.
Certainly, even from a franchise standpoint, I mean, the technology is tremendous. I want to back up a second into the consumer proposition. How does the brand let consumers know about not only the technology, but the green aspect and everything else about OXXO? I mean, there's only a certain amount of space that we're able to get in front of the consumers from a marketing message. How do you do that? Because I imagine that's got to be a great selling point to people looking at the franchise as well.
Yes. Well, first, word of mouth has been one of our best salespersons. At the beginning, when we first got started, TV. Once we had enough stores in South Florida, we did TV, and that worked well. 7 years ago, we did TV again, and I can say we did not work. It did not work at all. I think TV is maybe not something for us. Right now, what we're working on very, very diligently is with social media. Social media is very important. We are on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We send out as many feeds anywhere that we can. Talking to people like your show, which is very important, and I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity. This helps a lot. We do mailings. A lot of people work with mailing promotions, but like I say, the biggest thing now is social media. Social media works wonders.
So I want to start diving into a little bit about the actual model of the franchise. And before I do that, though, I've got to comment on what I just heard and how it made me feel with reference to your app and your level of communication with your customers at the consumer level. Not that long ago, Delta Airlines, where I spent a fair amount of my time, introduced the opportunity to know as a flyer when your bag was loaded onto the plane and when your bag was offloaded, and the anxiety that comes with hoping that your bag is there when you get to baggage claim, all gone. It's all gone. It's completely relieved.
I understand that, yep.
Your bag has been loaded on, your bag has been loaded off, your bag and you are in the same city. In fact, you're at the same airport. And I feel like the level of relief that you provide for someone who, on two different ways I think of this, the hours of closing at 6 or 7 o'clock. I can't tell you how many times my dry cleaner on a weekend closes an hour early, and I just don't remember that. And I went to pick up clothes that I needed to pack and take on a trip, and I'm late, and it's too late. So you relieve that with your ATM door, and then, of course, just, being able to have the relief of knowing that your clothes are ready and that the dry cleaner notified you with a text message or something through the app is just like beautiful. I would pay for that, whatever the price is within reason, just for that and that alone. So
Absolutely.
with innovations like these, and the fact that, I mentioned earlier, this is a $9 billion industry, the revenues generated collectively in dry cleaning, 36,000 plus dry clean stores of one sort or another around America. It's a fractured market. Not that many organized brands. There are a few, but with a niche like these, that you've covered already in the space of our time talking. Tell us a little bit about who it is you're trying to attract. Who is the ideal candidate for this business? What experience do they need to bring with them, and what is it that you can teach them to do if they have those pre-qualifications?
Look, first, we'd rather not have a person that comes from the dry cleaning industry unless it's a conversion, because we have to teach them everything they do. Because with the perchloroethylene, it's a completely different way of doing things. With the presses, it's a completely different way of doing things. But what we look for is people that are service-oriented. Like I mentioned at the very beginning, is our philosophy is caring. We care. And it's got to be somebody that has to care for the customers, which is very important. Has to care for the environment. Has to care for the workers that work with him. So that caring part is very important. And believe me that when you talk to people, you can see if it's authentic or not. Sometimes I've had people that come for the interview, and just by feeling them out with questions, with just generally talking. Everybody's into the business for the money. I agree, and fortunately with OXXO, they're gonna make money. But if they have that caring philosophy, they're gonna make more money, and they're gonna do a lot better. And that's why we're all the time looking for these innovations. We're looking for ways to make the customer feel that we're not just a factory that does things. We're a service. We are a service, although it's a small industry, but it's a service industry, and so that's that's what we really look into with the people that get involved with us. At the beginning, when we first got started, we didn't really go for that as it was that important. But some of those franchisees have left the system, and we've put other into the same stores that these people were, and we saw the stores really change their numbers and change the way people saw us. So actually, yes, that's look. And anybody can work if they want to work, but if they care, they're going to do a lot better. And I think I'm stealing a lot from Sir Richard Branson with his virgin way of doing things, which is caring. I think, and that's why he's been so successful. And I think that I hope one day I'll be as successful as he is, but I can't complain. I can't complain, and my franchisees can't either.
Yeah, I imagine so. That's quite a lofty goal to be like Sir Richard Branson, but certainly from looking
not
at
a bad role
career,
model, Paul.
Yeah, not a bad role model at all.
No.
Yeah, not a bad model at all. But it's interesting because that you mention him, because as we know, he's been a very big disruptor in every industry that he's gone to, and certainly you've disrupted this industry, I would say, tremendously. I've obviously used dry cleaners for years and years, and now I'm on Facebook looking for my closest one to where I am in the Woodlands.
Excuse me,
really remarkable.
Are you in Houston or in Atlanta?
I'm in Houston. Stan is in Atlanta, but I'm north of Houston. But I found one in Houston, so certainly I will give it a try. But it's interesting with so many thousands and thousands of dry cleaners that are out there. I imagine the landlords that are out there have to love your concept. I mean, I cut my teeth early on in franchising in the automotive aftermarket, and I remember back in the day when an automotive building and a repair shop became available, let's say at noon, it was usually signed, sealed, and delivered either as a purchase or a lease by the end of the day. They were so hard to find. Now, landlords don't even want to rent to automotive brands because of EPA problems and cleanup in the whole 9 yards. And I imagine a lot of the landlords probably felt the same way or feel the same way about dry cleaners. So I imagine over time that's going to continue to change the industry, and it seems like you've disrupted it enough that your brand is in the driver's seat, so to speak.
Absolutely. Over 10 years ago, or maybe a little bit more, there was an article written in Shopping Center Today, which is the magazine that caters to International Shopping Center Conference. It's where all the shopping center people meet. And once that article came out, we were getting calls from all the landlords. All the landlords wanted to convert every store into what we do. Actually, we have stores where we have apartments above us. We don't need to have any. We don't have any noise. We don't have that boiler, so we don't need to have any exhausts. We don't have any contaminating smells. Our stores are like boutique air conditioned. So we are, actually landlords. As a matter of fact, in Florida, we are the only public supermarket allows only OXXOs to be, not even other Green Earth people, but only OXXOs, because again, we don't have all the sweatshop and the contaminating chemicals and everything that comes with the old traditional dry cleaners. We have some copycats, some that have copied us, but they haven't copied everything that we do, especially the hand ironing, especially the independent equipment, and I'm happy to say that imitation is the highest form of flatter.
Mm-hmm. So true.
Yeah, wow, absolutely. So from a franchise standpoint, what is the investment level for one location, let's say?
Approximately between 400 and for a regular plant, not the large ones, not the small ones, but for a regular plant, we're talking about maybe 450 to 500,000, depending on the TI money that you get from the landlord.
Right.
That includes equipment. It includes starting up your store.
Absolutely. And for our listeners that don't understand TI, that's tenant improvement allowance. We can't take for granted that everybody knows every acronym out there.
Right.
Well, Salomon, we are fast running out of time, and we don't want to find ourselves up against the clock before we give you the opportunity to tell our audience how they can get in touch with you, any places or shows that you may be attending in the near future, or expos where they can come see and learn more, or how they can get on the web and find you online and anywhere else that information about you exists, so that they can deepen the conversations beyond this hour together.
Yes, we have, of course, OXXOUSA.com is our consumer franchise page, and OXXO Care Cleaners franchise.com is the franchise. That one's right now being rebuilt, but it'll be on the air maybe in a week or two. Our phone number is 866-GO-TO-OXXO, GO OXXO OXXO, and we have stores in Florida. We have stores in Texas that they can see. We have stores in New Jersey that they can see. So depending on the area, basically, if a franchisee, a person is interested in opening a store, and they do make the trip out to Florida, if they do buy the store, we will pay for their trip. So we're welcoming people. Again, if there's anybody that wants to convert a store, that is also up for grabs, and we can talk about that as well. And normally, to open a drop store, an independent drop store, is approximately $150,000, $120,000, $150,000, depending again on the tenant improvement dollars. If somebody has a conversion, it should be where we have a plant that can do the work for them. We will not allow it done other than at an OXXO, because our quality and our environmental non-toxic guarantee has to be on every garment that comes out with the OXXO bag.
Well, Salomon, this has been a great hour. This has been a great hour. I don't think anything could get an hour can go by any quicker than this when you've got somebody with passion and experience and innovation, and all of those are definitely part of what I've learned over the last hour. Paul, any last thoughts?
No, I just want to share with our audience. It's an interesting interview that Salomon did. Again, I said on Idea Mensch, and it's at Idea Mensch, that's mensch.com/Salomon-Mishaan. Really some good responses there regarding entrepreneurship more than franchising, and I think a lot of our listeners that are interested in entrepreneurship would get a lot out of that article. It's very few that I recommend, but that was a tremendous and an insightful article, and I'd love to have a further conversation about that, Salomon. I was really intrigued. Tremendous, and thank you for sharing. I could tell by that you share from the heart, you share from the passion, and you share for the care. And I appreciate that, and appreciate you being our guest today.
Thank you very much, Stan Paul. Thank you for having me. I really had a good time talking to you guys. I hope that people understood the message of caring. Even if they don't go into an OXXO, you got to care, because that's what life is about.
Amen.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Solomon.
Okay, take care.
Well, Stan, another one in the books, full of X's and O's for sure. Very intriguing. I love the technology aspect of that. Wow.
I'm looking at the map, wondering how he's not in Atlanta yet, but I expect that he'll be here soon. But the one thing about him is the one thing I take out of this call with him in this interview is something that's always evident in successful franchising, and that's people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And this guy is clearly all about that.
It's just interesting, it's true entrepreneurial spirit. You know how much I'm intrigued by that. Comes in from another country, obviously has a level of success behind him, and he's got experience behind him, probably a world of wisdom as he comes in. And he goes into an industry segment that is new to him, that is completely saturated, and decides, I can do it better. Just fantastic.
Well, I'll tell you what, Paul, I pulled out that Idea Mensch as a resource tool as well, and saw that his favorite read was Atlas Shrugged, because it promotes independence, self-sufficiency, and most of all, ethics, which are so often lacking in business. I would agree with you that everyone who's listened to this interview ought to go pull up that Idea Mensch and get a little greater view and depth of what this guy's got behind him, because really the basic tenets of sustainable growth and sensible franchising are what you're going to find in everything he answers here.
Yep, and if anybody would like to know, just type in Salomon's name in a Google search, and it's actually the first search result. So until next week, my name is Paul Segreto, wishing you the best, the very best, in this great, great thing called franchising. Franchise Today is out.
Stan the Man, Paul Segreto. Time to show you the way of franchising today. Hey, do you possess the spirit of an entrepreneur? Wanna lay your business plan down like a rug or a floor? Or maybe you have a dream of opening a chain of delis, or whatever passion lights that pilot light under your belly. Or do you want to start a business, fam, using the proven trademark from another brand? And grow together and expand like a rage of fire, from a single to a multi-unit empire. Well, pay attention to this podcast that you hear and streaming in HD, so fine-tune both of your ears. And Stan and Paul lays down the law. Whether you want to be a franchisee or a franchisor, it's all about sustainable growth, the sensible franchising, proven concepts, and smart enterprising. So use your left and right side of your brain and absorb this knowledge here, franchising today. Badlands, baby. Franchising today. Sustainable growth, the sensible franchising. Franchise today. Sustainable growth, the sensible franchising. Franchise today. Franchise today. Franchising today. Yeah.
When you're part of a military family, you understand sacrifice and support. So at American Public University, we honor your dedication by extending our military tuition savings to your extended family. Parents, spouses, legal partners, siblings, and dependents all qualify for APU's preferred military rate of just $250 per credit hour for undergraduate and master's level programs. American Public University. Value for the whole family. Learn more at apu.apus.edu/military.